everybody, it's Stacy Shea. I'm back with my running mate, Jennifer Black, and we're gonna discuss a little bit with you about things that we have done in the political space, since there's a rumor out there that we don't have any achievements.
It's fascinating. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, generally we work under the radar. I mean, so I can
Fair
get
enough.
some of that.
Yeah.
But I think anybody that's really in the space of getting things done would know what we've been doing.
Yeah.
So
if you're involved in politics in the upstate or in South Carolina at all, kind of have to be tone deaf not to know what we've been up to.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'll start with me. I came in here in 2016, and that was when I moved here. I had just left a state where a state senator had introduced a bill that was going to affect how I raise my children, and that really did give me a clue into, wow, a state legislator has an effect on my life.
Yeah.
Not Obama necessarily, or not Biden or whatever to that extent, but that person really affected how I was going to live my life, and that clued me in. So when I came to the state of South Carolina, I did notice some apathy a little bit, and I started an organization that was meant to drive some specific issues, but I was met with that civic engagement stuff, and I started feeling like I needed to teach people how to engage with their legislators. So that was just my first foray into that. And through that process, got introduced to a bunch of different issues. I know you started was it with Palmetto Panel, or was it?
Well, Palmetto Panel is a conference that I started with another friend of mine. We really wanted to help other people learn how to become more effective in the political process, so I started that with her. But before that, we got engaged in several different things going on in the upstate. One of them that I felt was paramount, and really we completely were riding under the radar on this one for a lot of reasons, but there was the hospital system was trying to take over our EMS services, and we really did not want to see that happen. We wanted for patients and citizens and hospitals to have choice and to have rules of fair play, so we got involved in stopping the takeover of the EMS services by the Greenville Health System. And boy, it was kind of like opening a can of worms when we did that. Like, you found out a lot more that was going on, and Jennifer got involved with that. And we weren't really working together on anything.
No. And it's funny, it's stepping out into those moments, and then you really start, that's the learning where you increase, the learning curve, and you say, okay, now I'm really understanding how things work, and you just build on it and build on it and build on it. From that, I started one of the people that you had worked with, I worked with on another issue, and that was, if everybody was very familiar, was when the hospital system was trying to privatize the public asset, and so that was a fascinating ordeal. What I loved about that is that we really worked hard at the Capitol, and that involved a few citizens getting together, talking to their legislators, and we really created a spot where the system had to come back to the drawing table and say, look, they understood that they were not going to get a bill that they wanted passed, which was going to allow them to do what they had done, privatize that the asset, and then we. So they had to come back to the drawing table. And what was fascinating is that in that situation, had we not done that, that $4 billion would have been handed over. And what we did ended up giving the county, the taxpayers, $6 million a year.
For how many years?
For 100-something years. And it was fascinating was that the original bill was a private, it would create all of the situation that happened the whole thing was private, which is private contracts can be changed at any time. And so because we really created this rally, we got them to codify everything, every agreement that they had come with. And it was it was just amazing. So while we didn't get $4 billion at one time, we're looking at $6 billion
over the course
over
of
the
many
course of,
years.
yeah, exactly.
Which
So-
you never would have gotten that if you hadn't gotten involved, and if you didn't know how to do that effectively. If you would have, gone with threats of tarring and feathering lawmakers, probably wouldn't have worked out so well.
And what we did there is that we worked with the lawmakers to get it happening, and we find that our our Greenville delegation is a pretty strong conservative delegation. They just need support.
They do. They
yeah.
absolutely
And so-
need for citizens to support them doing the right thing. Inform other citizens about what they're doing right, and to try to influence them to do the things that we really need them to do for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Probably one of the things that I'm proudest of is running part of the ground game, or being, a central part in the ground game when Rex Rice ran for Senate. And we specifically targeted Senator Larry Martin, the senior senator from Pickens County. And we used an issue to do that, and that issue was registration by party, because if you'll look at your voter registration card, you'll notice that it doesn't have a party affiliation on it. Mm-hmm. And what that means is that Democrats vote in our primaries and skew the people that we really want to represent our values as conservative Republicans. So Larry Martin was our target because he was the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee at the time, and he was holding up our legislation. And we used that in his district during that ground game to let people know that he was the major obstacle to them having closed primaries. And we, at the same time, gave them another choice to choose from. And Senator Rex Rice from Pickens County is probably one of the most conservative senators in our state. And, I don't have any regrets about that being the replacement. So, and that was a small group of private citizens effectively engaging the process. And I love what we do and how we do it, because, I think that we're led to believe you have to have a mass army of people to do something.
Right.
And nothing could be further from the truth. A small group of people can really be effective. It's that Margaret Mead quote, never doubt that a small group of committed
Yes, I was just excited
people,
with that.
Can make a difference. In fact, they're the only thing that ever does.
Right.
And I know I botched that quote, but that's the general spirit of it. So
what I love about what you were talking about is that it put two things together, an issue and a campaign. We talk about votes and a campaign, and so there's all these things that all work together to move the needle. And sometimes it takes time. It just does. I mean, when you think about that, it took
2 years
Yeah.
to do that. So
Yeah.
I think conservatives, we are so disciplined about everything in our life except for things going our way when it comes to politics. We seem to need immediate gratification, and after how many decades of people in general not engaging this process, it's not going to happen overnight.
Absolutely.
But we are here to tell you with proof and wins that if you continue to conduct yourself with emotional maturity and discipline in that process and forge relationships that are mutually respectful, you can have big wins too.
Absolutely. And I'm proud. The work that I've done has been across the state, engaging citizens to do that. I mean, and I get it. I remember that the first time I talked to a legislator, I actually did that. I need you to do this, and I remember thinking, my kids don't respond that well to that. And so I tucked my tail in and I said, wait a minute. And I started engaging and helping this legislator with, ice cream socials and, different kinds of, putting lists together and things like that. And that is, it builds goodwill, and it helps them in the effort. And if you agree about 80% of the time, I think you're going to get there.
Yeah.
And so
to your point about, the finger wagging, I think it's easy if you're on the outside and you're watching social media or the headlines to be really upset about things and think that they owe you something, and to forget the fact that these are fathers and mothers
Absolutely.
their parents, their husbands and wives. These are human beings. They're people who have a lot of demands on them. I think people really underestimate the demands that are placed on lawmakers with thousands of bills that come across their desk, all sorts of different outside interest groups trying to influence what they're doing. And if we can be that sounding board, a resource for solutions, somebody that they can count on, we will have a lot more influence with them, and we will know a lot of the real story about what's going on in Colombia that's not going to be printed anywhere.
Absolutely. It's what I like to call beyond the vote. And it's totally, we cannot vote and then say, see you later, bye.
I did my job.
Yep. Absolutely not. And they're, I mean, for the most part, especially the upstate delegation, they're in a lot of ways set to an island surrounded by sharks, and we have to
protect them. Yeah, we really do. So, well, those are just a few of the things that Jennifer and I have been involved with, mostly behind the scenes.
Yep.
Some of it a little bit out front, and these are the things we're going to be continuing to do. And
absolutely.
We would love to invite all of you to join us as we lead the Greenville County Republican Party to a new, fresh leadership. We'd like for you to go to our Facebook page. It's Fresh Leadership GOP. Thank you so much.